Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Cali, Colombia, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Welcome to
Tuesday.
Arranged Marriage Tuesday. We're going to arrange Bunky's marriage. Well, Bunky's in there in deep meditation. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam study. Our courses ended here. Our courses are ended. We just finished
totally
up.
over, or do you have a little satsang this morning?
Little satsang, little goodbye. But I did our major closing yesterday at this beautiful home of one of our friends. It's incredible. It was like a Balinese hotel. It seemed like it was like a pretty massive.
It's a beautiful home.
House.
Very beautiful home.
Beautiful home. I guess it's time to tell the practical joke we got Kelly Skinner in yesterday. Because it's such a beautiful place, and it's got a beautiful sunken pool and these beautiful fountain ponds, and everything is tropical and overwhelming. I just sort of like mentioned, I was like, yeah, it's really cool. They have an alligator in that swamp. And she's like, you're kidding, an alligator? I was like, well, yeah, it's harmless. They took all the teeth out of it. And then she was like, oh, really? Okay. And then I just dropped it.
Oh, you set her up. That was a setup.
That was a setup for later. And then afterwards, I was like, hey, Kelly, did you see the alligator yet? She's like, no, is it there? I want to go see it. Let's go see it. I said, he'll come right to you. It's completely harmless. You just got to lay down. You got to splash your hand in the water. It'll come right up to you. I was like, will it snap? I was like, if it snapped, it's got no teeth. It's completely. And so she's laying on them. Splashing her hand. Oh, Kelly. Once she bought into it, I was like, oh man, she is the one. I'm gonna get her.
One of these days, we're all gonna get you in a very intricate, long-term, major, big
practical joke. I'm ready. I'm ready for that.
Okay. And now Kelly's like, she's in. She's like, I'm in. I'll play any role. Let's get it.
We might be laying the groundwork for you right now.
We're laying the groundwork. We're planning already. We're laying groundwork.
So we're all going on a vacation. Me, Bunky, Mara, Kelly Skinner jumped on board. Anu's here, who's we know Drew Lawrence's son, our favorite astrologer, and then we're gonna meet up Kaustubha and Gita. We're doing some traveling in Colombia for the next few days, and that means we have a couple days off, right, Mara?
Yeah, Thursday and Friday we won't have a show.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was hard to get that past Kaustubha. We had to ask his permission.
Anyway, because we had a great month. January, we didn't miss one day.
It's pretty impressive.
And it was by far the largest month that we've ever had. It was downloads was like nearly 250,000 downloads just in 1 month.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
It was over 240,000 downloads last month.
That is unbelievable.
But that's because of steadiness, Raghunath. You got that steady.
The place has no internet. I would do it. The place has no internet.
Well, you're going to the place that has no internet.
Well, hey, you know what? We were going to
go.
We were going to go to hiking. Bunky was attached to this. There's a lost city in Colombia that they just found.
And
Yeah.
well, maybe not just, but I think they shot Raiders of the Lost Ark there. So that was 30 years ago. But it's
Okay.
basically a lost city that they refound. It's within the jungle. You got to hike there for 4 days. And I was like, Kaustubha's not going to go for this. But anyway, there you go.
We'll have to find that city another time.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to make an announcement. I'm going to Nepal. You want to join us? It is March 13th to the 25th. Trekking through the Annapurna Range. It's quite breathtaking. And we have Hari Katha, Kirtan every day. And it's a good workout. It's a fun, exciting workout. You don't get to ride the mule. You got to walk, but you don't have to carry your backpacks, which is good because that could be tough. We have Sherpas. The Sherpas carry it all. It's quite unbelievable how much these guys.
Everybody gets. You keep going to that one point that you don't have to. We get it. You don't have to carry your bag.
Well, imagine if you had it back. Ever go backpacking to Stuba? It's
I don't think
exhausting,
so.
man. You go backpacking for 10 days, it'll wipe you out.
All right. Okay.
Because Stuba, you got to go to this first place. It's called Bhaktipur.
I would love to
It's
go to
a-
Bhaktipur.
It's an ancient city, and it's built in this pagoda style of temples.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Sringadev temples, Jagannath temples, Radha and Krishna temples, and it's an ancient, gorgeous little city. That's where we're starting the trip.
Okay.
And then we wound up in Kathmandu, also very, very cool ancient temples too.
Good.
You know who else is from there? Sita's father. There's Janakpur, where
Janakpur.
Maharaj Janak is from. Didn't know
Okay.
that. All right. So
You got a nugget? Oh, you got a nugget?
I got some nuggets. Yes, sir.
I think you have a comedy nugget.
Yes. Ready? Hold on a second. All right, there's a little bit of a comedy nugget. All right.
You got to read this in a very
Dramatic reading
Not
by
like
Raghunath. I
overly
could do that.
dramatic, but like-
Shakespearean.
yeah, not Shakespearean. Well, you could do this one Shakespearean.
Yeah. I was walking across the bridge one day, and I saw a man standing on the
Who's
edge.
this coming from?
Can't I just say it's mine?
No.
Must I give credit to everybody? Doesn't everybody just borrow stuff? Okay, comedy nugget from Emo Phillips. That's his real name, Emo.
Yeah, he's a comedian. He's. I was checking him out.
Never
He's
heard
pretty
of
good.
him. Never heard of him. I was walking across a bridge one day, and I saw a man standing on the edge, about to jump off. So I ran over and said, "Stop! Don't do it." "Why shouldn't I?" he said. "Well, there's so much to live for," he said. "Like what?" "Well, are you religious or an atheist?" He said, "Religious." "Me too." "Are you Christian or a Buddhist?" He said, "Christian." I said, "Me too." "Are you a Catholic or a Protestant?" He said, "Protestant." "Me too." "Are you Episcopalian or a Baptist?" He said, "Baptist." "Wow, me too." "Are you a Baptist Church of God or a Baptist Church of the Lord?" He said, "Baptist Church of God." "Me too." "Are you the original Baptist Church of God? Or are you the Reformed Baptist Church of God?" He said, "Reformed Baptist Church of God." And I said, "Me too." "Are you Reformed Baptist Church of God, Reformation of 1879 or Reformation of 1915? He said, "Reformed Baptist Church of God, Reformation 1915. I said, "Die, heretic scum," and pushed him off the bridge. Funny and really sad. You know, Kaustubha, you know what they say. You hear this a lot by critics of spiritual paths. They say, why do we need religion? Religion caused more wars and trauma and death than anything in the world. Who needs this? The healthy thing is to do is get rid of all religion. But it's really that it's not that religion caused it. It's that the ego is so present in everything we do, even when we work for things for our self-betterment. You see it in religion, you see it in health, you see it in health food, you see it in diet and you see it in politics, where initially we want to do something for what's right and what's good and we feel connected with, but there's no governor to pull back when the ego gets mixed in with it. And that's why I think with the tradition of bhakti, it is at the forefront. People still will override it, but it's at the forefront of the teachings, is that no matter how far we go with this, there has to be some accountability for our ego. And that's why there is always checking in with peers, always checking in with gurus and teachers, because the ego can get in the way of our progress at any level. It's not just like a young fanatic zealot. It's seasoned people practicing a spiritual path can have a big ego, and it could be because they're very learned, or they're pundits, or they're scholars, Sanskrit scholars, and they can use that to bolster their ego. And the ego, or Maya, or illusion personified, is just waiting, because it's Maya's job to keep us in illusion. And what's the best way to do that is you keep that ego in it. It's not like ego has been or religion has ruined the world. It's our egos that are out of control. Where over some church, this is the joke, the church that was reformed in 1915, or the church that was reformed in 1879, these are now my enemies.
Right.
And it's like the ego's always looking for an enemy, or that we're always trying to be right, even at the risk of ruining relationships. It's rampant nowadays more than ever, huh?
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, I suppose it's a eternal principle, but yeah, it does seem like we're more polarized and more quick to judge and more quick to condemn than ever before. When I hear that, I found it really funny. But on one hand, I would say there is a logic to it. In other words, sometimes it's the people that are closest to you that can hurt you the most or disappoint you the most. And you're working in the closest quarters with. So it may be that that particular branch of Christianity, and then then those two groups, they may have battled with each other in some way, where hearts got hurt and offenses were made. Sometimes it's the people that you're the closest with that can hurt you the most. That can hurt you the most. You can feel the strongest sense of bitterness too. But I think especially what it's emphasizing is what you're saying is that it's not that we need to align with a particular religion or denomination. What we need to do is root. All of those denominations are meant to be rooting, helping us root out from our hearts what's preventing us from connecting with God and connecting from every living being. And if people are doing that, in their own way, that's a little bit different than us. It's okay. But if we haven't rooted it out, we can feel animosity, and even sometimes the most intense animosity towards them.
Yeah, it's not my position to judge. My position is to be kind, compassionate, loving, tolerant. That other stuff gets all figured out, not by me. I don't have to step in and be the judge, the jury, etc.
It all ties into to what we've been reading in the Daksha pastime from Bhagavatam, and also the conversation we had that I had the other day with Chaitanya Charan, spiritual scientists, about religion and spirituality. I have another nugget for you today, Raghunath.
Yeah, you collected nuggets.
It's
sir?
related. It's a short one. It's from Jonathan Swift.
Jonathan Swift. Did he write some? What did he write?
Hot seat, Mara. You should have learned this in your private school.
Should have learned that in private school, Mara. Just walking around smoking in the girls' room, boys' room. Don't smoke in the boys' room. He was an Irish satirist, an essayist.
He was an essayist. He was
he wrote Gulliver's Travels.
pamphleteer.
Right.
Huh?
He wrote Gulliver's Travels.
That's right.
That was a good book.
It was. So he said we let me see if I can pull it out, because I didn't want to say it exactly. It's short, but I want to make sure I get it right. Jonathan Swift said, "We have just enough religion to make us hate, but not enough to make us love one another." And it can be so true, right? Because you're given these regulations, you're given this tradition, you're given particular, in one sense, dogma, right? You're given all this stuff that's meant to help lead you in a direction, but if you don't go deeper into it, you begin to feel a sense of superiority based on the acceptance of the regulations and acceptance of the particular denomination and so on. And it's just enough to make you feel better and more holy than everyone else, and to start hating people. And it's not enough, because you haven't taken it far enough to where those things actually do what they're supposed to do, which is, help you do that work that you need to do to root out your lower nature.
If your path, here's your nugget.
Here's a Raghu nugget. Okay,
Read a Raghu nugget. Read this here.
Read
Read this again. Read this again.
You got to do it first before we can say
Okay,
that.
I got to do it first. I got to do it first. If your path of self-improvement is making you hate somebody or some other group, you're doing something absolutely wrong.
Okay.
Raghunath, read that again. Read that again.
Could you do it again?
No.
but it's been recorded.
It's important.
So we can go back.
So.
It is important. All right. We ready?
All right. Yeah, let's dive. Let's dive into
Okay,
Srimad
announcements are
Bhagavatam,
made,
our
right?
daily bath.
Yeah.
Bathing our mind. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one shall offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, this supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhaktir bhavati raishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 7, Text 28. We got some little live crew here today, by the way.
Okay.
Got,
There's the last second squirrel, right?
Kelly,
there.
Anu, and Jerome, you may know from Zoom
is it?
Faces.
About Raghunath, you can lead him to water, but you can't make him drink. He gets right to the brink.
I'm just saying, we have a live. I felt bad that I didn't announce that we had a live crew here.
Okay, all right. You know, text 27. Why don't we just take one look at this just briefly again? Okay, we got to the point. Everything's opening up.
You know what I've noticed about Kaustubha? He's the rewinder.
I know. I do rewind.
Just start where we start. He has to rewind it every time. You're the rewinder.
Okay, but it's helpful to rewind a little bit, right?
It is. But you're the rewinder. That's your new name. Rewinder.
Okay. Rewinder. Why do you have to say it with such animosity? Why can't you say it with affection? A rewinder.
You're right.
Rewind.
All my endeavors for self-improvement are making me hate.
That's right.
I've done something wrong. Read that again.
Okay. So now everything's opening up, and Lord Vishnu's finally appeared. All the chaos has ensued, and now it's finally settled, and Lord Vishnu came, right?
You know who Mara is? She's the enlarger. I like looking at everybody's face. When I do Zoom, we're on Zoom right now for those who are others out there. We're on Zoom. I like looking at thousands of different faces. I even scroll around during the course of the show. I'll even risk your face, let go of your face, just so I can see the other faces. Mara is the enlarger. She just makes one gigantic face of you and me, and I can't see anybody. All I see right now is Daniel and Scott and Lori Pag. And I love them, but I want to see more faces, Mara.
Okay,
I'm putting it on gallery view. Sorry.
Okay.
There. Welcome back, faces.
May we start now?
Enlarger and rewinder. Okay. Go ahead.
So, as I was mentioning, the chaos has ensued. The chaos has settled. Daksha, from a new perspective and a new state of humility, has chanted the same Vedic hymns that he's probably been chanting for decades and decades and decades. But this time they were potent. And they were so potent, Lord Vishnu himself appeared in the assembly. Mm. And now we're going around the circle, and everybody is offering their prayer to Lord Vishnu. First we heard from Daksha, and then we heard in this text 27, we heard the priests. And the priests made this they said this very interesting thing. They said, by the curse offered by Lord Shiva's men, we have become attached to fruitive activities, and thus we are now fallen, and therefore do not know anything about you. It's like saying we're so into our religion that we don't know anything about God. Yeah, we don't know anything about God.
Hey, man, and there's an ongoing problem in religion.
It is. And so, but just think about this, Raghunath. So imagine these aren't just priests. These are Daksha's priests, right? Like these are top-notch, high-level VIP priests. We can assume they're old men, right? They're probably like, because seniority was such like an important thing in this culture and everything. We can assume that they're old. We can assume they're very learned. We can assume that they've been very rigid in the following of religious regulations, et cetera, et cetera. Like they've got like all this quote unquote religious merit, or religious background and experience and status, right?
Right. Almost like religious scholars, and they put in their time, and they're tenured.
They got respect.
Vaishnava professors.
They got prestige, right? They got prestige. Yeah. But all of that, it's amounted to nothing. And they're admitting they're getting it right now. They're saying our motive is wrong. We're practicing religion. We're practicing religious rituals for the things of this world. One of the things is prestige itself,
This is our nugget, man.
Yeah.
This is our nugget. This is exactly what we're trying to explain in the nugget. Yeah. And I love how it's always, again and again, showcased in the Bhagavatam, in the Mahabharata, in the Ramayana. This is a showcased issue with growing in your spiritual life. So what it seems like commonly people want to do is say, yeah, ego's a problem. I'm going to throw away everything else because these guys are just into ego. But it also shows what to do when you get tripped up by ego. And now he's going to Lord Shiva and apologizing.
Yeah. Or no, now they're praying to Lord. I mean, that did happen. And now they're praying to Lord Vishnu, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Now
but yeah. So that to me, again, that's Vyasadeva in his brilliance, choosing just the right, he's got access to like unlimited, like celestial stories and events and engagements. And he's choosing this one and he's framing it for us to highlight this point. Don't miss the point, right? And so these priests, they're getting it now. Somehow in the presence of Lord Vishnu, and having gone through their apology to Lord Shiva and so on, they're in a place of humility. Things are opening up. They're seeing, in one sense, it's all been, when we're talking to spiritual scientists the other day, we mentioned that verse from the second chapter of the first canto of Bhagavatam, Shrava Eva Hi Kevalam, that all of your religious duties, if they don't lead to a genuine attraction, a genuine intensity in your wanting to hear about God, then they're Shrava Eva Hi Kevalam. I've always heard that translate it's like a complete waste of time. And he said it's actually, the Sanskrit actually implies it's not even just time wasted, it's effort and energy wasted. It's like, yeah. So it's, you've just wasted your time and efforts. And so they're getting that now. But all that being said, let's hand it to them. Let's tip our hats to them that they were able to admit it. They were able to see that in themselves, right?
Right. And they had a breakthrough.
They had a breakthrough. And so
we're going to trip up. That's part of being on a spiritual path. Even if you're riding a speedboat, so to speak, towards a spiritual destination, and we've seen people who are very serious and focused on their spiritual life. I've been reading Prabhupada Lilamrita lately. And you hear these devotees are like just unbelievable, the sacrifices they met. We take for granted now. They're focused, but you know what? They trip up. And it's understandable to trip up. When you reach high, especially expect to fall short sometimes. But that doesn't mean we should stop reaching. You're going to trip up, and then you're going to pick up yourself, and you're going to keep going. And, that's important. Otherwise, sometimes the tripping up can just say, I'm in Maya. I'll never get out of this Maya. I'm so dented. Right. No.
So let's
it's part of getting better at stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want 27? You want to go to 28?
Now 28.
Now 28. All right.
It's like a general group they're going to mention, the members of the assembly.
All right. Mr. Rewinder. Text 28. The members of the assembly address the Lord. O exclusive shelter for all who are suited in troubled life in this formidable fort of
situated in trouble, not suited.
Suited.
They're well suited for troubled life.
You're
situated.
O exclusive shelter for all who are situated in troubled life in this formidable fort of conditional existence. The time element, like a snake, is always looking for an opportunity to strike. Ooh. The time element is like a snake. The world is full of ditches. I say that. I say sinkholes. The world is full of ditches of so-called distress and happiness. It's interesting that happiness is also the ditch.
It's a ditch.
Right? Because you can get
Yeah, if it stops
intoxicated by good. You get intoxicated by good karma.
It impedes your progress, right?
And there are many
happens.
ferocious animals always ready to attack. I know. I follow them on Instagram. The fire of lamentation is always blazing, and the mirage of false happiness is always alluring. Ooh.
I follow that on Instagram too.
You follow that on Instagram? The mirage.
Yeah, like just
Well, Instagram is the mirage of false happiness.
we're mirage of false happiness.
It's the highlight reel of people's lives. Maybe not even in the highlight reel. You could be miserable and take like this sort of relaxed picture of yourself, or here's a picture of Raghunath and meditation. Oh, he's so peaceful. Huh? Or you see all these like pictures of people in love and stuff like that, and all of you are like, yeah, we're getting divorced. We're having a conscious uncoupling. I was like, wait a second. I was just following all these pictures of you guys in love. Yeah, those are the ones I let you see. It's like we've become our own Madison Avenue. Anyway, but no one, all right. The fire of lamentation is always blazing, and the mirage of false happiness is always alluring, but one has no shelter from them. Thus, foolish persons live in the cycle of birth and death, always overburdened in discharging their so-called duties. We do not know when they will accept the shelter of your lotus feet. Boom.
That was a heavy verse.
Just weighty. These are so weighty.
You know,
how doesn't the whole world be like the Srimad Bhagavatam? It's like we got to tell the whole world about this book.
Okay.
You feel like that? Don't you feel like if educated people that you know like were to read this, they'd be like, "Wow, that's a pretty incredible."
Well, you know,
book
I think a lot of people would hear that and they'd say, "Well, come on, what are you talking about? There's so much beautiful stuff in life, and this." Not that that's entirely wrong, but the fact is that that's the mirage. You know, and at a certain point, because we are in an extremely vulnerable position.
Sure.
Are we not?
Every moment, man.
At any moment.
Any moment. You know, we're staying in this house right now with these dogs. That dog doesn't like me.
No.
I'm dead serious, man. That dog, he's waiting for the master to just like turn his back, and he's going after me.
I made friends with that dog, bro. You just have to.
No, it's not true. Don't trust him.
I trust
My
him.
point is, there is vulnerability. Before you squirrel my squirrel.
I'm not squirreling. I'm sticking right on your squirrel.
My point is, we are vulnerable. There's danger at every moment. Yeah. No one expects to die. No one expects to get chronic sickness. No one expects to lose a loved one.
That's right.
And it comes, and we're caught blindsided as if someone smacked us in the head from behind with a 2x4. And that's material existence. That's not your unique situation. Right. That's everybody's situation. If you're feeling safe right now, give yourself time. Things become unsafe real quick. Good morning.
Right. Yeah. So that's
Happy
it, right?
Morning shows.
Like it's saying there's a mirage of false happiness. Even we found that perfect soulmate, and we've found the perfect home, and we have the perfect job. All that may feel really great, but actually, if you could zoom out, you'd see that it's like you're right on the edge of a cliff. Right.
Sure.
And you may not even be aware of it. But we should be aware of it because we see it all around us. And at any moment, it's all the things that you're saying, at any moment they can, and eventually they do happen. And then we find ourselves in a situation where we're really struggling, right? We're like suddenly all these things, the fire of lamentation starts to blaze, right? We realize, my goodness, that time really is like a snake. It strikes, and now it struck me, and it hurts, you know? And those hard things in life, they come to us all. You know?
One of the great Bhakti-yogi songwriting masters, Narottam Das Thakur, writes that our life is like a drop of water on a lotus petal. This real firm, strong, like this is my home, this is my wealth, this is my family, this is my vehicle, this is my, right? There's a lot of like anchors in my life keeping me secure. And he says, actually, that security, if you've ever dropped water on a lotus petal, it beads. It turns into a bead, and then it rolls off.
Just
that is shake. Our security in the material world, right?
Yeah, just a little shake, and Let's go.
Yeah. And so in our security can be dismantled in a moment. I hope this is not too depressing this morning. The
No,
idea
this is truth.
Okay,
Speak
so
it, Raghu.
he ends that the stanza of the song. Our life is like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Therefore, you should always remember to serve and meditate on the feet of Lord Hari. So we keep Krishna in the center. He's the main thing. We keep the main thing, and that is samadhi. That no matter what is going on, bad times, struggle, or even the good times, which can really throw us off course, we figure our life is dedicated to Krishna. That's our meditation. And the good times and bad times just come and go. They change like the seasons. And I'm focused right in between. That's samadhi.
That's right. And and this isn't the whole picture. This is the picture of material life, right? But Bhagavatam's telling us that it's not limited to that. That actually, there's so much more that you are not only capable of achieving, but by nature you are meant to achieve that spiritual side, which is actually secure.
That's got to be emphasized too, because if you read stuff like this, and sometimes people new to this, they'll be like, what kind of depressing, anxiety-ridden philosophy paradigm lens are you seeing the world through? Yeah. It's not. It actually, you want to get rid of anxiety, it's not going to be by developing material security. Isn't that interesting? You think, well, if I have some material security, I'll get rid of anxiety. No, just the opposite. The more you have, the more you risk to lose. I'm not going to get into kidnapping, right? Because you're not, they're not right? Because once you have, there's people that want what you have. That's a problem.
Kidnap you.
They'll kidnap you for it. But I'm not going to go there. So what we're saying is if you can really understand that security in the material world is a false investment. You're investing in an apparition. Investing in an apparition. Your real security comes when you get this stuff. You keep your focus on Krishna, and Krishna takes away anxiety. It's one of the gifts you get from advancing in bhakti yoga. Your anxiety starts to melt because you realize you can't hurt me. The world can't hurt me. Boom. You can't take things away from me. I own nothing. I fully understand that. And anxiety starts to melt from your life.
Even you're going through the same, even though the snake is there, and even though
the snake is there, you're getting bit by the snake. He's wrapped around your neck.
It's almost like it doesn't have any teeth.
It's a toothless alligator.
Okay.
I was like, well, how'd they take the teeth out of the alligator?
There's so many good dentists.
There's so many good dentists.
There's a very good dentist here.
You need to remove the teeth from my alligator so I can have it in my pond.
That's the way you set up the big prank, right? First you start even when someone arrives in Colombia, you start talking about how good the dentists are.
Then you start saying, they even bring the pets to the dentist. The wealthy bring the pets to the dentist.
Right.
They can remove all the teeth, and then she's completely set up for the prank.
Okay.
All right.
Text 29.
Okay. Text 29.
Lord Shiva's going to speak, right? Now Lord
Shiva's going to, he's getting his 2 cents in here too.
And you know what's far out about Lord Shiva? Like, if anybody else would speak like your Lord Shiva, it would be like, come on, man. Like, it's almost like he's just so advanced, and when he speaks about it, he's just speaking matter of fact. Anyway, read what he says.
Lord Shiva said, my dear Lord, my mind, so he's speaking to Vishnu, my dear Lord, my mind and consciousness are always fixed on your lotus feet, which, as the source of all benediction and the fulfillment of all desires, are worshipped by all liberated great sages, because your lotus feet are worthy of worship. With my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me. There you go. I'm just saying this.
You're thinking like Lord Shiva.
You can't. I'm thinking like Lord Shiva now. You can't hurt me, Lord Shiva's saying.
That's right.
I'm not disturbed by persons who blaspheme me. Right? That is like internet cancel culture. Doesn't bother Lord Shiva. You can't cancel Lord Shiva. Claiming that my activities are not purified. It doesn't bother him. You can say whatever you want. What you think of me is none of my business, he's basically saying. I do not mind their accusations, and I excuse them out of compassion, just as you exhibit compassion towards all living entities.
Okay, let's
read that again.
Lord Shiva. Why don't we read some of the commentary here?
All right. Mara's got to click in here. Mara. The enlarger. Lord Shiva expresses herein his great regret at having been angry and having disturbed the sacrificial activities of Daksha.
See, even there was, because he said, I no longer am disturbed. He's saying, I got disturbed. I shouldn't have. Now that I'm fixed on you, I don't feel disturbed no matter what.
King Daksha, he was a king?
Yeah, I guess.
King Daksha had insulted him in many ways. Thus, he had become angry and frustrated during the entire sacrificial ceremony.
He became angry and had frustrated the entire sacrificial ceremony.
And that too. Later, when he was pleased, the yajna performances were reinstituted, and therefore he regretted his activities. Now he says that because his mind is fixed in the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, he's no longer disturbed by the ordinary critics of his way of life, right? He's walking his path. He's doing it my way. That's Lord Shiva, right? Not interested in wearing a monkey suit. He's just going to be who he is.
That's right.
From the statement by Lord Shiva, it is understood that as long as one is on the material platform, one is affected by the three gunas of material nature.
Mm-hmm.
On a side squirrel, were you ever into the plasmatics?
Never.
Really? Me and Parmananda were.
Really?
My sister went to school with a guitar player. He lived in Westchester.
Okay.
Richie Stotts, the guy in the wheelchair with the.
Where's this going?
Where's this going? Nowhere.
Well, yeah, this is a total. Thank you, Mara.
No,
Thank
you know, I said monkey suit, and that was the name of one of the plasmatic songs.
Okay, gotcha.
But I used to see her in Integral Yoga. She was a diehard vegetarian and animal rights activist.
Okay,
back in the
her.
80s.
I think her story was a sad story, though. I think she took her own life eventually.
I think she did.
Yeah,
I loved her.
Okay.
As soon as one is in Krishna consciousness, however, one is no longer affected by such material activities. One should therefore always be fixed in Krishna consciousness, busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is guaranteed that such a devotee will never be affected by the actions and reactions of the three gunas.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
The fact is also corroborated, love that word, corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita.
Because it's kind of like a legal term. You see yourself as like a lawyer or something like that?
This fact is also corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who's fixed in the transcendental service of the Lord has surpassed all material qualities and is situated in the status of Brahman realization, in which one is not afflicted by hankering for material objects. Ooh. I feel like I get glimpses of this sometimes.
What's the
Brahma Bhuta Prasanatmana Sochatina Kankshati.
Samasarvesha Bhuteshu.
Nateju Ramate Buddha.
Nad Bhaktim Labate Param.
Close.
All right.
Pretty close.
Yeah, by being always engaged in devotion. How do we get out? The last verse we read about just how miserable the world really is. Even if you're in the mirage that it's not, it could just flip it at any second, and then the suffering and the hankering and all of that. But this verse is saying, how do you avoid that trap? You keep yourself engaged in devotional service. You keep yourself engaged in bhakti. That your mind, your body, your words, you make them an offering. And when you do that, you transcend. You transcend hankering. You transcend lamentation, right? You actually live in the moment. Because that hankering and lamentation, people are always talking about living in the moment. You know, we hanker for things in the future. We lament things in the past. You get deep into devotional service. You're living in the moment, right? It's truth, because by nature we are devoted. By nature we are servants. You know
what? I'm gonna say that again. Check this out. Kaustubha just said, we hanker for the future and we lament for the past. The first time I heard someone say that, I was like, oh my God, that's the most insightful thing I've ever heard. That is my entire,
that is life.
I was just visiting the temple. And I was like, that is the most, I was like, you are it was Jai Dwaita Swami said that to me. I was like, that's my entire life. That's my entire life. Hoping for the future and lamenting over the good old days. And it's cheating me out of the here and now.
Right. You see, this is a deep thing, Raghunath, because devotional service is truth, and truth is beyond the element of time. Time is actually works in the illusory realm. Right. So if we want to actually live in truth, we connect in devotional service we actually live in we live in the eternal present, right? It's like a present that
The
it's
eternal present.
it's the eternal
What?
present.
It's such a what
Well,
statement.
It's a little hard to wrap the mind around. We've got to try to expand, but like once you get to the platform of devotional service, you enter into eternally. But you're actually you're living in that moment in a very deep way.
I was thinking also that both lust and greed, and probably others, but those two came to mind. They are all hankering for the future, right? Like
Yes.
if you're lusting after somebody, you're thinking, how can I enjoy that? Or
You're
thinking of
projecting into the future.
romantic turbo scenarios of how it will be enjoyable. So where is the enjoyment? It's not in the here and now. It's a hope to enjoy in the future. Greed is the same way.
The chase is better than the catch. You going a little Motorhead on this?
Oh, is that a Motorhead song?
Yeah.
I don't know that. She used to date Lemmy.
Who? Oh,
Wendy Williams.
Oh, okay. It's all coming together, Raghunath. It's all coming together.
Wendy Williams from the Plasmatics. But my point is, greed is the same way. I'm going to get the new motorcycle. I'm going to get this new car. I'm going to get a stripe on my car.
Yeah.
All of these
Raghunath,
things.
you could get that stripe, but once it comes, you're not going to really. It's not going to satisfy you.
I might enjoy it. Anyway, my point
be
is
brief.
that
Fleeting.
type of greed is all. It's all in the mind. It's not in the here and now. Lust as well. That's my point.
Yep.
Read that again. Okay.
Read what again?
Nothing. I'm just
Okay,
saying.
read that again. That
just
thing,
saying
right,
my thing.
Sorry, right. Yeah.
Keep on going.
I think that's
Corroborated
Yeah, I think you corroborated everything well there.
pretty well. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
But Lord Shiva,
thing.
it's
Do your thing.
I love Lord Shiva. He's your protector, Raghunath, isn't he? On behalf of Krishna.
I've just finished the edit. I'd have to go back and do the editing of my book. The more I read my book, the more I was like, I was in so many dangerous situations my entire life.
But Lord Shiva protected you.
Lord Shiva protected me. It's my personal protector in this life.
Who told you that?
This mystic I met in Haridwar.
Yeah, I think he's right.
I do. I have an intimate connection with Lord Shiva.
Don't overstate it.
What?
I have an intimate connection.
I do. I do.
I actually believe you do.
I do. I'm not overstating it. If anything, I'm understating it. I'm probably really in debt to Lord Shiva.
We're like best friends.
That's not what I said. I said I have an intimate relationship
Okay.
of servant and
Okay, gotcha. Oh, from servant to master.
yeah, that can be intimate. Also, it doesn't have to
Sure.
mean I'm like one of his cohorts.
Okay.
Text 30.
Text 30, Mara.
Oh, now Brigu's going to speak.
Here comes
He
Brigo.
probably-
So
he has
what
a
happened to
new
Brigo? He
mustache.
lost his mustache.
Yeah.
Just see him putting on a new mustache right
He's
now.
got a goat.
How do you
mustache.
re-put on a mustache?
That's pretty good.
You did it.
Let's hear what he says. He might give some clues. My dear Lord, all living entities, beginning from the highest, namely Lord Brahma, down to the ordinary ant, are all under the influence of the insurmountable spell of illusory energy, and thus they are ignorant of their constitutional position. Yep. Everyone believes in the concept of the body, and all are thus submerged in the darkness of illusion. Oh man, it's more than ever now. They are actually unable to understand how you live in every living entity as the supersoul, nor can they understand your absolute position. But you are the eternal friend and protector of all surrendered souls. Therefore, please be kind towards us and forgive all our offenses.
Wow. I think he's speaking about himself here. I kind of have a feeling that's how this was intended, right? He's saying
Yes.
all living entities, including me, right? Like I'm a big shot.
Don't start singing.
I wasn't. I wasn't.
Was that Billy Joel? Big shot. How's it go?
Yeah. So
You're
he's saying
lucky I don't know music very well because I can't remember that song.
He says everyone believes in the concept of the body, and all are thus submerged in the darkness of illusion. And that's why we had this big mess. That's why we were all embarrassed, right? We all got embarrassed. All right.
I told Mara she's got to stop wearing black.
Yes.
You got to
Then-
stop.
And the
Swirling.
first thing she does is throw on her black sweatshirt.
I mean,
Let her
a
be,
limited
Raghunath.
wardrobe here.
Let
I
her
was able to
be.
go out shopping after you said that.
Okay, where are we?
31.
Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, your personality and eternal form cannot be understood by any person who is trying to know you through the different processes of acquiring knowledge. Can't know him like that. Your position is always transcendental to the material creation, whereas the empiric attempt, right, using your senses to understand you is material, as are its objectives and instruments." I like the analogy of you can't understand honey by examining the jar.
Is that because you like honey so much? Why that?
No, my point is you'll never guess. If you look at honey and if you've never tasted it, it's sort of gooey, it's brown. And if you analyze the jar, you'll never be able to understand it. So empiricism is the way to try to understand spiritual life just by reading or just by, you know, how you have this scholarly approach. The Hindus believe this, and then they do these rituals that do this. And then, but a spiritual path has to be, you have to have personal experience of it, which also not just gives you an emotion or a feeling, it actually shifts your vision. That is like the revelation or the what's the Christian word? Not catharsis,
Revelation,
but also a catharsis.
But what if
Come on, what's the word?
what revelation? That was it.
It's not it.
Yeah, like Saint Peter on the horse and all that, and gets knocked off his horse, and he has a revelation.
That wasn't St. Peter. That was Saul.
I'm sorry, Paul. Saint Paul.
Epiphany?
I mean, it was Saul, and he became Paul.
Epiphany, but not Epiphany. But yes, pious one.
Epiphany.
Pious one. Sarah Grahi. I don't even know her. She could be not that pious, but she.
I'm sure she's pious. You look at her art, you can tell she's pious.
Well, you know what? You can look at a person's face. Great souls can look at a person's face and tell if they're pious.
And you
That
are
makes it
great.
sound like I'm a great soul, but she just looks pious.
I think she's pious. But Raghu, here's a question for you. You're saying let's capsulize.
Krishchungi, also from Finland, says she is pious.
Okay. But let's encapsulate what you just said.
Rapture. That's what I wanted to say.
Someone
Not
could-
epiphany. Rapture.
What about rapture?
Rapture
Rapture's a whole nother thing.
spiritual. It's that.
Well, I guess you could say the state of rapture, but generally when they use
Yeah.
that word rapture now, they're talking about like the last moment where everybody's pulled up to heaven.
Oh, that's what it means.
I mean,
I
rapture
thought
is also
spiritual.
like
You're caught up in a spiritual rapture.
okay. Anyway, Raghunath, let's move forward now.
Search that. Can you look that word up, Mary? Okay, sorry.
So what if that epiphany, let's use that word, right? Epiphany. That's not an easy thing to come by. So do I have to sit here in a state of complete unknowing until I achieve some epiphany? Is that what you're saying?
What do you mean?
Where is your mind right now, Raghunath? What are you looking at?
I actually was listening. I just don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that spiritual knowledge isn't something cheap. You can't just look the outside of the jar. It's something that you need to experience yourself. And so is it that we're just hopeless until we achieve that epiphany?
Well, no. I mean, no. I think you get little crumbs that lead you in, and then slowly
Crumbs
they become.
of epiphany? We're the crumbs of epiphany. From Schenectady.
We're opening for the Minutemen, and it sounds like an SST band. Crumbs of Epiphany. Anyway, my point being, you get little crumbs, and I think each little crumb of faith is some revelation, and then you get bigger chunks, bigger bites of spiritual. I don't think it's like a big bong, a big gong, and then all of a sudden you go from materialism, and now I'm enlightened. It's little crumbs of faith are shifting our vision,
But
and
I
then we
think
get a bigger chunk, and something dramatic happens. A death in the family, a great loss, a great fortune, and you realize the futility of great material fortune.
Okay.
And then right.
But what I wanted to bring up was that I believe what Lord Brahma here is part of what he's alluding to or speaking about is he's speaking about how we understand that which is beyond our senses, right?
Yeah.
like when the honey is in the jar, it's beyond our senses, right?
Sure.
Somehow the jar has to be opened. And one way that jar gets opened is through some experience of epiphany, for sure.
Yeah.
But another way is that, in one sense, others can open it for us. And that's what we call, that's why like this process of understanding spirituality, understanding what is beyond our senses, it's handed down, right? And the most effective way it's handed down is through the process of hearing. So Brahma said, your personality and eternal form, that's the spiritual substance that's beyond our senses, right? He says it cannot be understood by any person who is trying to know you through the different processes of acquiring knowledge. You don't climb up to that. It's handed down, right? And so you know those terms, what is avaroha panta? You know that?
No.
Avaroha panta means it's descending, that it comes down to you, right? Rather than aroha panta, which means by your strength you climb up to it, by your effort. In a lot of yogic paths, the yogis are conceiving of it that way, right? By my mastery, by my self-control, I will have the epiphany.
By my moving of the prana, the lifting of the serpent. In Bhakti, we're not like that. Right? The serpent spine. In Bhakti, we're crying. We're crying it out to the mother, to the father. Please, protect me, give me shelter, give me realization. And therefore you see people going through some traumatic experience, even though they may not even be very advanced. Krishna appears to them or protects them, mentally comes within their mind.
Even dented cans. People
like
that don't have all the background and the qualities and the samskaras, to have that kind of self-mastery.
It's in my book, man. It's in my book. When me and Parmananda and the band got attacked in Buffalo, Krishna was there with us.
Okay. Even though you were getting dented at the time.
I was the dented can getting dented.
You're being actively dented at the moment, right? But so in any case, maybe we can start here tomorrow, but it's such an important point that this idea, it's worth examining. It's, frankly, what we do say is that our practice, our process is a combination of effort and grace. Both are there, right? But it is important to understand that there's certain things that are beyond the senses. To understand them, you need to hear, right? That doesn't mean that you don't question what you hear, you don't put to test what you hear, but it's through hearing that we begin to understand that the entirely spiritual. All right, I think we're out of time.
Wow, it went fast. Went fast today, didn't it, Mara? What did you ever find out that word I told you to look up?
Rapture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a belief that both living and dead believers will ascend into heaven to meet Jesus Christ at the second coming.
You see? But there's more to it, right? There's like a state of rapture that one can be in, like like a trance of some sort or something.
Ecstatic joy or delight.
There you go. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Rapture. Caught up in rapture.
Rapture.
Oh, yeah, there is a song. I was like, I should make a song about that. There is a song. Oh, that's the one where Blondie starts rapping.
That's right.
Rapture.
Rapture. You get it, Raghunath? Have you ever put that together? That's why you called it rapture. You see?
Oh, I never thought of that.
You just had an epiphany.
Oh, my God. I'm having. All right. Wait, we got takeaways, Mr. Musico.
Takeaways.
There needs to be accountability for our ego.
Boom.
We need to uproot anything that's preventing us from divine connection.
Uproot it.
If your path of self-improvement is making you hate, you're doing something wrong.
All wrong.
Don't hate. All wrong.
Meditate.
Don't focus on religious rituals and throw away God.
Ooh, I like that. That's a t-shirt, buddy.
Okay.
We're going to trip up on our spiritual path. Pick yourself up and keep going.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Pick it up.
The more you have, the more you have to lose.
What?
The more you have, the more you have to lose.
Yeah, as Bob Dylan said.
If you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose.
Yeah. There you go.
Melt away your anxiety with Bhakti.
Yeah. Harry Bull. Thank you, everybody, for
Nothing
joining
about
us live on the show.
Creatures or anything? You didn't have any toothless stuff?
No toothless. Look at these guys. Just chilling out.
Oh, it's like floating on clouds there. It's like they're...
We got Anu here. We got Jerome from the Netherlands, from Rotterdam. We got Bunky. We got the bright light of Vermont over there, just hanging. Ah.
Tell people how to join Zoom.
What's that?
Tell people how to join Zoom.
Hey, if you want to join us here on Zoom, please do. You go to wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, write Mara a secret message, and she will give you the secret codes to enter into our chambers. I want to thank all of our Patreon members who support us. There's this community-supported podcast, and we got a great community. Really want to thank those who support us. If you'd like to support us, if you're new to this, you think we're doing something good, any donation of your whatever you can afford, we appreciate it. You go to patreon.com/wisdomofthesages to make a simple monthly pledge. It's the equivalent of the guy in church would come around with a basket. Remember that guy? Comes
Big
around
long with the big long
basket in.
handles.
What's that?
Some of them are just like regular baskets that you pass down the road, but they also have those big long arm
Yeah,
ones.
the long handle baskets. That's
You
what
got a
we have
guy
in
on
my
either
church.
side of the pew, and they're coming down with that thing.
My mom would always put in her dollar. She did it regularly, but she was cheap.
She didn't have one of those envelopes.
She did. She put it in the envelope.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's our long arm basket. Yeah. And also, I wanted to say we're gonna have Roddy Case do another astrology thing, course for our Patreon members next week. So we're excited for that.
Yeah, we have Madhu doing a program this week also. I think Thursday evening. There'll be
And I think
details on that.
now that all the retreats are coming to an end, it's time for little sweet baby Krishna to come back into our
We've been getting a
lives.
lot of requests.
You know, maybe we could do it on the road. Maybe we could do a Sweet Baby Krishna on the road.
No, because you won't have any internet.
Well, for 2 nights we won't. We're going away for 6 days or something.
All right.
But yeah, I'm down for Sweet Baby Krishna. I'm back. I've been exhausted in a wonderful way. I've been teaching for a solid month, Kaustubha.
I know, that was solid.
You're here vacationing.
Excuse me.
You're just wandering around. La la la. Papayas. More papaya, please. Tangerine juice, please.